29-year-old Sharron Hammack lived in Grand Rapids, Michigan in 1996. She had 2 children and was pregnant with another child on the way. Sharron was a sex worker and had addiction issues when it came to drugs. Her family's attempts to get her into rehabilitation programs failed due to her lack of health insurance. Sharron's body was found on October 3, 1996 in Kent County, Michigan. She had been assaulted and strangled. Sharron had been rolled up in a blanket and dumped on the side of the road. A delivery driver discovered her body on the same day her life was taken. Sharron was the 9th body found of a dozen women in the 1990s in and around Michigan Grand Rapids area. Unlike Sharron, most of the victims' remains had already become skeletal by the time they were found. The majority of the 12 Michigan victims had addiction issues and did the same work as Sharron did. A local task force was formed in 1996 to investigate the 12 cases. They questioned a lot of people and followed up on leads, but were unable to make any arrests for a very long time. Then finally, in August of 2022, 64-year-old Gary Dean Artman was arrested in connection with Sharron's case. He was taken into custody in Mississippi and is currently waiting to be taken back to Michigan. His DNA matched the male DNA found in Sharron's body, along with DNA found on the rope used to tie her up. He is also a suspect in a similar case of a woman who disappeared outside of Los Angeles, whose remains were later found in Maryland. The same male DNA was found in both this victim and Sharron. A detective working the case said familial DNA was done on both the Grand Rapids case and the Maryland case. It was determined that the assailant in each case was in fact the same person. Artman, by his own admission, was living and working near Sharron's crime scene and was present in the state of Michigan when her life was taken. It was also discovered that before the other victim's body was found in Maryland, she was in Ontario, California. Artman was within 20 miles of Ontario at the same time she was. It's not clear yet if the investigators suspect that Artman is responsible for any of the 11 other victims in the Grand Rapids area. Artman was previously incarcerated for 11 years in Michigan on a charge of first-degree criminal conduct. Sharron's younger sister, Tina DeYoung, said that the arrest had brought up a lot of emotions. "We got him. Mama, we got justice for her," Tina said at the press conference, looking toward the sky in a gesture to her deceased parents. "I'm sorry it didn't happen before the good Lord took you, but justice will be served. You can celebrate with her up there." "35-year-old Carol Jean Pierce lived in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin in 1975. She was married to Richard Gale Pierce. He was a member of the U.S. Coast Guard. Carol was last seen on September 5, 1975. Bizarrely, it took Richard 82 days to file a missing persons report. Investigators also found it strange that Richard had a new girlfriend just a few weeks after Carol disappeared. He also wanted no part in helping search for his wife. Investigators always believed that Richard is responsible, but as they could not find Carol's body, it would be too difficult to prove. In 2018, investigators took another look into the case. After police interviews, re-examination of evidence, and use of a human remains detection dog, detectives had enough evidence against Richard. Finally, on October 11, 2018, Richard Gale Pierce was arrested in connection with Carol's case. His trial was delayed a few times, but finally took place in 2022. Prosecutors in Door County, Wisconsin argued that Carol was not alive anymore and that Pierce is responsible. Authorities described an ugly relationship. Colleagues who worked with him said that Carol Jean started a lot of fights between them, but neighbors claimed to have seen her with bruising on her face. Another neighbor claimed that Carol told them that she believed Pierce was going to take her life. Authorities maintained that Pierce had much to gain from Carol not being alive anymore. A pension without a wife being in the way, most of the important possessions from their marriage, land and home in Michigan, a new girlfriend weeks after Carol Jean went missing, and the benefit of her silence. Defense lawyer Kate Zeidemulder argued her client should not be convicted since Carol's body has never been found. "You cannot find my client guilty of these crimes. There is literally no body, and there literally is no proof of human remains." To overcome that, prosecutors had to convince jurors that Carol Jean was definitely not alive anymore. Assistant District Attorney Nick Grody rejected the idea that she fled and started a new life without telling anyone. For example, as evidence, she did not plan to leave. The prosecutor highlighted letters she sent to her mother. Carol Jean planned to move with her husband to Michigan and was excited about it. Prosecutors suggested that Pierce hid Carol Jean's body at his Michigan home, but had moved the remains at some point. Deputy Ronald Finland of the Sheboygan County Sheriff's Office testified about there being a cut in the concrete in 2008 at Carol Jean and Richard's house filled with dirt, rock, and earth. But this cut was no longer filled in when authorities looked in 2018. While videotaping, I was able to observe a void that went back underneath the cement floor of the crawl space, Finland said. Dog handler Alyssa Palmer testified about participating in the 2018 search at Carol and Richard's house with canine Hella, a human remains detection dog. She said Hella found the presence of such remains at 6 locations in the Michigan home. In April of 2022, 86-year-old Richard Gale Pierce was convicted for taking the life of Carol Jean. Then, on August 5, 2022, Pierce was given a life sentence plus another 3 years on a disinterment charge. Arlie Porter, who was Sturgeon Bay's police chief and has since retired, said he was a young detective when he worked on this case 40+ years ago. He says while today's sentencing isn't a closure because they still don't know where the body of Carol Jean Pierce is, it is finality of teamwork that led to the conviction and life imprisonment for Richard Pierce. 20-year-old Claire Gravel lived in North Andover, Massachusetts in 1986. She attended Salem State College and was a sophomore. On June 29, 1986, Claire played a softball game and then went to celebrate with her friends at Major McLeish's pub. A friend dropped her off at her apartment around 1:30 a.m. the next day. That would be the last time Claire was seen alive. That same day, her body was discovered in the woods near Massachusetts Route 128. She had been strangled. Speculation and rumors ran rampant in the immediate aftermath. As her family and friends mourned, police admitted to being stumped, and Claire's name fell from the headlines soon after. For over 30 years, the case remained cold. Then on August 24, 2022, Essex County District Attorney Jonathan Blodgett held a press conference to announce that investigators finally found the man responsible for taking the life of Claire Gravel. The man identified as 63-year-old John Carey. He is currently serving a prison term in the Massachusetts Correctional Institution at Concord for a different case from 2008. Investigators have been tight-lipped about what exactly led them to John Carey. A photo of him has not been released yet. DA Blodgett said that evidence recovered from Claire's clothing were instrumental in charging Carey with taking her life. We followed evidence we had, the DA said, promising more transparency as court proceedings move forward. We developed new evidence as well that will be disclosed at his arraignment. Carey has allegedly been considered a person of interest in the case for some time, though Blodgett declined to say exactly how long. He said that no motive is clear at the moment. This case was never forgotten, the DA insisted. Any lead was pursued to the end. He added that authorities had been in touch with Claire's surviving sister and father. For 36 years, Robert Gravel has carried the photo of his daughter, Claire, in his wallet, Blodgett said. We continuously review cold cases, hoping that new techniques and a fresh look will result in a breakthrough, the DA went on. We are mindful of the victims and their family members who continue to want answers.